We have a brand new episode of the Broad and Forever podcast. I'm your host, as always, Shamus Clancy, Deputy Sports Editor of PhillyVoice.com. I am joined, as always, by my guy, Zo. Zo, happy holidays, happy New Year. Recording this early Friday afternoon, getting ready for yet another holiday weekend and yet another Eagles game.
Yeah, buddy. It's getting close, though. It's getting close, man. It's our favorite time of year. We got 2 more weeks before the real fun begins.
How was Christmas?
It was good, man. Good? It was good. Christmas was good. Got to see a lot of the family. A lot of things involved, like COVID and people traveling and stuff. We don't really get to see as much of our extended family as we normally would have throughout the year. So this year we had an opportunity to see a lot of people who we missed the past 2 years. So it was fun. Kids got a ton of toys. I got
lots of trucks, a lot of cars.
A lot of trucks, a lot of cars, Etch a Sketch.
Ooh.
Shout out to my very good friends, the Beatas. They got Mari Etch a Sketch for his birthday, which turned out to be half of all he played with on Christmas Day. So kid made out like a fat rat. Corinne got a ton of stuff. You should see the living room right now. It's an absolute mess. I love it.
That's the best though, right? It's the best. Waking up on Christmas. The day after Christmas was always such a glorious day for me because I guess the charades are all over and you just wake up again and all the toys are still in the living room or whatever, but they're actually unwrapped and you could just go ham on them like that.
My favorite,
all the 360 games are in the console.
They're in the console. Like it's funny. My favorite time has always been that week after Christmas because as a kid, like I used to get, aside from all the toys and stuff, you got to that age where you started to get money for Christmas. So like my mom would, like I always knew my mom would have to go back to the mall to like exchange or return one or two things. So I was like, all right, just let me know where you're going. I'm going. So like we hit up to, we lived in, so like living in, as you know, as a Philadelphian, we didn't really have like outside of the gallery. It was either Cherry Hill or King of Prussia.
Yeah, going to the gallery wasn't like, oh, we're going to the mall. It was we're going to the gallery.
We're going to the gallery.
Much different thing, yeah.
So like when we did go to KOP or Cherry Hill, it was a much bigger like thing. So that's always been like one of my favorite parts of the holidays is like going to the mall and kind of seeing what's left, seeing what kind of deals that we can scrounge up before January 1st.
One of my coldest fits ever was on one of those post-Christmas mall trips. I guess I was in grade school. I remember I had the white Chris Bosh Raptors. Oh, and hitting up KOP.
That's a great jersey.
Probably with the money from grandma and grandpa.
That's about
to buy another jersey. Stitched, and it was the Reebok one that was stitched. I do like the Reebok iron-on ones too in retrospect. I always like the Nike stinks now. It's a nostalgic. I like the Nike. I like the Reebok NFL jerseys because they don't have them anymore. Yeah. I like the Nike and CCM hockey jerseys. They don't make them anymore.
They don't make them anymore.
I like the Rawlings and Majestic baseball jerseys. Don't make them anymore. Stuff like that.
I like the. I think the Majestic jerseys were still underappreciated part.
Sure.
Underappreciated era. I thought those were always good. I used to always appreciate a good Nike Swingman too, man. I thought that the Swingman jerseys the Swingman era was perfect because it was affordable and it was also as close to the real thing as you wanted to get.
It was the perfect sweet spot for kids who, parents might have had a little bit of money to get you like something really, really nice besides just the $50 iron on one. And you got more street cred if you rolled up with something that was stitched, even though in retrospect, a lot of stitch shit from that era and then is fake. So I'm almost more weary if I see stitch stuff now because there's a higher likelihood it's fake, but there weren't really fakes like that then. When you're getting, a Swingman Antoine Walker jersey, there's no fakes on the market in 2004 or whatever. But I remember the NBA Swingman, they did a hardwood history collection or hardwood collection. They did all these kind of those fake throwbacks, right? They were, I guess it's Nike, so it makes a little sense. They were kind of city edition jerseys almost 2 decades before they were doing real city edition jerseys. remember it'd be like I had my favorite one. I had a black Chris Webber that had baby blue writing on there, like the Rochester Royals throwbacks, Kansas City Royals Kings throwbacks like that. I had an Iverson one that was kind of a combination of the Wilt era Sixers and the Syracuse Nationals, where it had, the bottom half was black and the top half was white, and they did a bunch of variants between those, between red and black. Had the name underneath the number on the back.
I used to love I love the NBA. Well, they had NFL version too, but the jackets, the Mitchell and Ness jackets. Shout out to Josh and Mitchell.
Shout out to Josh and Mitchell and Ness, of course.
But the ones with the patches all over them, I thought those were
every team.
Yeah, I thought they were so clean. My cousin actually had one. He got one for his birthday one year, and I swear, out of all the patch designs, that those jackets were so well done. I thought that was like one of their biggest wins, was the way those jackets came out. They look so clean.
I've seen people clowning on stuff like that recently, like, oh, that's like a Drake jacket or something he would wear. But at the time, I didn't have one, but that was probably the coolest thing you could have owned.
100%.
Because those were the big wool Letterman varsity jacket type things. Yeah. Those are probably, $300 or $400. I didn't
that's what it was.
I had a million jerseys, but that was real high quality shit.
And you're spot on. The thing that made it so good was the quality of the jacket. It was a heavy wool Letterman jacket, so like you would throw it on a 50-degree day and like have no problem with it. Like it wasn't like the sheer material. It was a heavy jacket, and it was heavy stitching. It was perfect.
I remember I got a hand-me-down from my cousin Mitchell Ness wool jacket, the only one I really ever had.
Yeah.
And I'm probably 8th, 9th grade. It was an 80s White Sox, but it was during that era for the White Sox, they had a lot of red in their jerseys and uniform colors. So it was this big black varsity Leatherman jacket with red leather sleeves and like the black wool on the front and like the 80s White Sox logo, not the one that right now that it looks like it now is the one that's both current and the original at the same time. Yeah. But that was the 70s, 80s version. And that was, I remember growing up to the prep. I would wear that to the prep. Barely fit into the locker when I changed. I
remember I had a new, this is definitely going to age me, but my dad, I think my sophomore year, my dad got me a Woolrich for Christmas. It was, let me tell you, I thought my street cred was through the roof when I put this thing on, because it was seriously, still to this day, one of my favorite coat of all time. Again, I have no clue how my dad got it, but it was, being a dad now makes a lot of sense because it was some sort of parent magic that he worked. But I remember it barely fitting into my locker at the prep, and I was like, I gotta find a way to put this somewhere where I can scram my books and keep this thing safe. So maybe I'll just toss my books and say fuck it.
I like it. Biggest news in Philadelphia sports this week: Philadelphia Fusion are moving to Korea. Seoul, South Korea. So an ultimate, don't let the door hit you in the way ass move. Great. I did try to clown someone in their comments, and I got owned. I'm not going to lie. I'll put it out there for everyone. So I sent you the tweet. Yeah. So the Philadelphia Fusion announcer are moving, and this big esports commentator replies to them, and is like, "Wait, now I don't ever have to pronounce Philadelphia on a broadcast again." And people are piling on him, and I said, "How do you work in broadcasting?
Yeah,
this is your thing." And I looked at his picture, looked at his location, based in Los Angeles. Seemed like someone I thought might be a native English speaker.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, well, it's a running joke on the broadcast that because of my accent, I say Philadelphia weird." And I was like, "Whatever, dude. The mistake is assuming that as many people watch your Overcast broadcast as they listen to this podcast. The numbers are probably pretty similar.
They're probably
pretty similar.
The numbers are pretty neck and neck right there.
So I deleted the tweet. I got on a little bit, but putting anything out there into the atmosphere of being a little negative to Philadelphia just showcases how like what you want, but how I think sort of esports is stupid and the concept of just have teams. Why the hell does the team need to be based in Philadelphia? What's the connection to the area? What's the community level there? What is the civic pride aspect there? Nothing to me. So that gets thrown out of the way. But Philadelphia Fusion, no more. Dark day at the sports complex.
Dark day in the city.
Flags at half mast.
Flags at half mast. Never mind Maxey coming back tonight. Never mind Jalen most likely playing Sunday. We lost to Philadelphia Fusion. Dark cloud for sure.
Yeah, they were the sacrifice for the Phillies to go to the World Series, and I don't know if I could do it all over again. I don't know if I'd make that trade, man.
The Fusion was our pennant sacrifice. Yes.
Yeah. I have a new segment I want to debut this week. It's called the Philadelphia Hater of the Week. It was almost this guy, but someone as I'm getting the podcast set up to send you, it's become clear it's very much someone else. And looking at this guy's name, I had to double check online that this was definitely him and not someone else with a similar name. But from Ryan D. Leaf on Twitter, and just take out the D. It's just Ryan Leaf.
It's Ryan
really,
Leaf.
I will say, tremendous branding move by him to rebrand to Ryan D. Leaf.
Yes.
Because then I have to double check it and be like, oh, is this actually Ryan Leaf?
Yes.
Or is it someone else? Because I think it's, Ryan Leaf off the hand a little bit. Seems like I will get to his spiel in a little bit. Back on the path. Good for him.
Yeah,
back on the path. Good for him. But he says this morning at 10 a.m. from Manhattan, tweeting from his big tower. I always hear how great Philly fans are. Two of my good friends are Fly Eagles Fly through and through and are the absolute best. But y'all Twitter Eagles fans, you just may be the worst example of human beings there is. Exclamation point. Reading it out loud, that's good. You're gonna get a nice 65 on that intro to English grammar exercise there, Ryan.
Mr. O'Brien's failing you for that one.
Yeah, bro, you're repeating English one. Sorry, bro. And then I see it, and I see someone reply to it with the Ryan Leaf cuts plea deal after getting hit with battery charge. I was like, it can't be that Ryan Leaf, right? And then I looked up Ryan Leaf. His middle name is David, so definitely that Ryan Leaf.
Ryan D. Leaf.
He says he's a keynote speaker, which I know he is, but I know he had some rough goings on. He's now sober, and that's become a big part of his speaking. Yeah, so hats off to that. Respect that. But you still came out the crown.
Yeah, much respect to him and his journey, that's neat. That is a total aside.
Your journey took a wrong path today. This was the worst path your journey has taken yet.
Taking the path to absolutely shit on Eagles fans for some odd reason.
I don't even know why.
Came out of the blue. The other funny thing, I don't even know. And I guess you can always find what a fan did. What a fan of a team did during the week to piss someone off, but I don't even know what anybody did or said to him.
Oh, I think he was on Good Morning Football yesterday. Ryan Leaf is worried that the Eagles are going one and done in the playoffs.
He got a response to that.
Yeah, I don't know what he expected. He went on, the premier football television daily show and dropped the take about the best team in the NFL.
About them being one and done. Like, I expect the response to be, dude. Like, this isn't.
We didn't get into the last week's game, and we don't want to be like the instant recap show. But like, if you watch that, I don't know, Coward had them 6th in his power rankings. So I was like, how could you watch that one game and that's your one takeaway?
Yeah,
it's a loser thing. Like, they won it with Hurts. Well, even if they don't win with Hurts, it's an easier game, and they lost by really one score. Yeah. It's going to be a lot different. Again, they went down there and played what they had. They could have won. They should have won.
Right?
They didn't. I don't think dropping to 13-2 when that loss includes going on the road to a at worst top 3 team in this conference, probably a top 6-7 team in the NFL overall,
and a top 5 defense.
Yeah, and a great pass defense,
and a guy, and honestly, like,
and they scored 27 with Gardner friggin' Minshew, who I think is the best backup in the league, but. Right. Still a guy coming in cold, hasn't played all year. Hurts had unbelievable chemistry with Brown, Smith, the offensive line, the running game. And a lot of things worked well for them, but it wasn't really anything cohesive. The running game was is so different without him there.
It's
So
completely
different.
different.
And Brown and Smith look great, but they look even better when Jalen's
Jalen's
out there.
playing, yeah.
Pretty simple.
I just think that they won. I think that it's a loser take to like shoulda, coulda, woulda type stuff. But
like they lost. The Cowboys played better than them.
yeah.
They made fewer mistakes. Dak was great. Gannon's
They-
defensive scheme was lacking, and they utilized CD Lamb perfectly because they couldn't stop him.
They
And
couldn't stop
that
him.
one T.Y. Hilton play, they signed him to make plays like that. Like hats off, they beat the Eagles fair and square. There's no crying. There's no freaking complaining.
It is.
But yeah, it is what it is. But massive overreaction. Massive overreaction.
Well, I think we talked about this before though. We talked about this when they were maybe when people were talking about when's their first loss going to come.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people and the football media folks, for some reason, they have it, up their asses about how they feel about the Eagles. So they were just waiting for a game like this. They were waiting for it. Wasn't just Skip Bayless rooting for the Cowboys to win that game last week. I think people just wanted a reason, another reason to say "I told you so." That's how it is. Like for some reason, it's always, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. It's always how it is with Philadelphia teams. Actually, a perfect segue. Well, we'll talk about it. I'm sorry, we'll touch on it a little bit, but they got. I think it was Jason. No, I think it was ESPN. ESPN has the Phillies not even making the playoffs next year.
85 wins.
Right, and which is 2 less than what they won this year. And it goes on across all 4 sports. Philadelphia teams, for some reason, people just wait to see the other shoe drop and say, "I told you so."
I think it's part of the modern, and it's an outrageous statement, like overstating the importance of it, but like the sports entertainment industrial complex where these things are put out there topics wise to get people worked up in either one of 2 categories: worked up happy, worked up angry.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine they're outside of maybe the baseball teams in New York. I don't think there's a more fervent or as a fan base or a group of people that can get as angry as there is for Philadelphians, for I guess the 3 major teams, Sixers, Phillies, and Eagles. Just not the case for the Flyers with how they are here in the coverage of hockey nationally, just not the same. But the Eagles being good for a while and then dropping off as they're getting the postseason is good for business for all of these people.
Yeah.
And them losing a game like that to the Cowboys is good for business for them in terms of what they're talking about. So Philadelphians will continuously be attacked, not just by Ryan Leaf, by everyone.
I
don't think winning shuts it up either, because then they were so terrible people. They were such terrible people. At the parade afterwards, they were eating horse shit. They're terrible people.
We just had to buckle down. It's not gonna ever end. They could win the Super Bowl this year, and it'll never stop. The Phillies literally made it to the World Series, and the chirping, they're getting less respect than they got before the season started. Listen, we have our gripes across, like you said, all 3 major sports. Like we spent literally half of last year pontificating, shout out to Stephen A. Smith, about why Joel Embiid should be league MVP, dude. I don't know what else you want to see from us in general. We have to prove ourselves 10 times over to all these people in every major league. It's crazy.
I spent my early 20s arguing of defending a franchise that I kind of hate at this point. And that was good. That was the most relevant the Sixers have been in the national discourse in 10 or so years, I guess I would say at that time. 10 or so years since Iverson left in 05, 06.
It's good for business.
It's good for business. It's and it doesn't help, or maybe it does help, that because Philadelphia is such a fervent sports city / area, depending on where exactly you're from, that a lot of the media team throughout these organizations. I'm not saying there's this secret cabal conspiring against Philadelphia, but a lot of prominent media members, probably outside of maybe just New York or Los Angeles, the big areas.
Yep.
For one of those non-top 2 cities, Philadelphia brings a lot of people into those markets, into those roles. I think they're aware of the reaction Philadelphians can give, and I guess us talking about it gives it to them. But I don't know.
I was talking.
It's fun for them to get us
Yeah.
riled up, but it's also a lot of fun.
A lot of
We
fun.
complain.
Yeah. I
The
was
two-way street. It works for our business.
it always
Works for
will.
my business with work, with Philly Voice. Doing those little, doing a little Chris Sims tangent when I feel like it. Stuff like that. Going a little Cowboys history tangent. But I get it. But for the average Philadelphian, for the average fan, I'm sure it's really annoying.
And to that point, right? Like you work in it professionally. I dabble in it, on the side. But talking to a kid, I don't want to say a friend, but a friend or a friend who used to intern for ESPN. He's like the feeling up there to a lot of people is it's not so much Philadelphia hate. It's that when Philadelphia, like they need Philadelphia to be good at all these sports because it's a lot better. You know what I mean?
Business, yeah.
It's a lot better when the Eagles are the best team in football. It's a lot better when the Sixers are betting odds to win the championship. It's a lot better when the Phillies spend $500 million in one summer because, again, top 4 sports media market, like best fans in all of sports for both of our intents, intents measures. So it means something to us.
Yeah.
Like we respond to everything. They bank on us responding to shit like Ryan Leaf, and we never let them down.
Thank you for the new segment, Ryan. Philadelphia hater. There'll be no shortage of candidates in the time to come, especially if the Sixers or the Eagles continue on their path. Embiid keeps up with the MVP pace. I know he's only number 13 in people's leaderboards or whatever it is. Apparently averaging 37 points for a month is only okay.
Literally leading the league in scoring these days apparently.
And then obviously Phillies come the spring and summer, so I don't think we'll have any shortage of candidates.
No,
there. But it's similar to I think the NFL ideal, and this goes for just the Shield itself, for Fox, for ESPN, for all the NFL Network, is that the Cowboys are always good, but not great. I think that's the ideal scenario for those games, is that the Cowboys play in a lot of big games, but not necessarily the biggest game.
Right.
Because I think that what gets people riled up is the Cowboys, having a really good game and then having an okay to pretty good record.
Yeah.
And then ex-analysts can go over there, whether it's Jimmy, Skip, someone else, our pal Ryan Leaf, and saying the Cowboys are back. They're taking the NFC East. The Eagles are pretenders. Even though we know probably Cowboys aren't going to make the Super Bowl.
Right.
But the people there waiting for them to fall off, which can happen to any team that's just pretty good, not an unbelievable team, while as you have everyone else getting you riled up because at the thought of them possibly being good or great and how annoying that would be for everyone.
Right.
That's where the nexus point is. So
right, exactly. And you're exactly right. So, and I think that there's
do you think the NFL wants any NFC championship game matchup? Any that is not Cowboys at Philadelphia or vice versa. If
no, right, of course I think
they're going to fix the friggin' games for it, but Roger is salivating at the idea of that being a game in that window.
They had 49.4 million viewers on Christmas Eve. That game.
Did you see that Christmas Day NFL to NBA?
Yeah,
David Stern's rolling over, man.
In his grave.
This wasn't his dream.
They were like, and the crazy thing is, it's like you have to now judge. You have to judge football. This is going to sound crazy, but you have to judge football against football. Like you have to judge football against soccer now.
Yeah,
worldwide. Like you have to judge. Like basketball is outpacing everything else, and then it's football by itself. Like the NBA is up 5% from last year. Football's up, I think it was 46% over the NBA in general. So like now,
I think this has been a great year for football in terms of. I know we got a couple stinkers on Christmas, and the schedule makers completely fucked themselves with putting the Broncos every week in prime time. So there are a couple clunkers, a couple Monday night clunkers, but I think a lot of these games, those 4 o'clock game of the week matchups, some Thursday games, we've seen some great football, and Eagles Cowboys missing some juice because the Eagles, it was seen as a format of the Eagles would clinch NFC East. Jalen Hurts isn't playing, but that was a nationally televised game. Every TV that had Fox, that game was on there, regardless of where you were in the country.
39 million viewers.
That was an unbelievable game. That was a great game from an objective perspective. If you're Philadelphia, you fucking hate it, and you're going to think of 3rd and 30 forever, especially if they don't win the Super Bowl this year. Or they don't get the first round bye or all those things. Or if they get it and then lose to Dallas come January. But man, that was a sick football game to watch. And as I'm writing about it, I don't know if I'm writing about it, they're going to win. I don't know if I'm writing for them to lose. Doing like hedging, doing a little bit of both writing. But
it's crazy.
I mean, that's perfect. That's what the NFL is about is shit like that.
Well, it's about the parity, right? So I was talking to this year, the Eagles being, again, for most part of the season, for 96% of the season being the best team in the league, below them is still a ton of parity. And the reason why we all love football so much is it's only 17 weeks. It's literally just 17 weeks. And in basketball, it's 82 games. Like you get to the end of the NFL season and there's still 5 months of NBA basketball left. For all intents and purposes, like basketball season for a lot of people doesn't even start until February. So like it's just the way that the game is set up. There's 17 very quick weeks. And honestly, if they find a way to fix Thursday night games, my vote is to get rid of them altogether. But that's a whole other conversation. It could be even crazier. Like I think that there's a few, but like their biggest mishap is that the Thursday night games typically wind up to be absolute clunkers. Like that game last night was disgusting. Obviously, the Cowboys don't have much to play for, but like still,
I didn't even watch. Like that's a game. Once I knew the Titans were resting their dudes, I didn't tune in.
The Titan, yeah.
But that's just the unfortunate aspect of Thursday night football, where every team has to play on Thursday night football, or it's an inherent disadvantage. Though Thursday night football loses a lot of steam end of the year when there's reasons not to play these games, or their teams are punting on them, or teams are resting. Which you get away with a 1 o'clock Sunday game. You have Red Zone on, and only the local markets are watching that. But when that's the only NFL game on, you're kind of screwed. What's your fix? Getting rid of them completely? Probably a sound idea. Not feasible at all because the NFL gets an extra day of the week to you.
Yeah, they get an extra day.
What is it? Tuesday night football? Is that better?
Right.
Just throwing it out there. I'm being serious. I don't know, because it seems like what they don't like, what causes it, is the too short of period in between those things, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess you get another situation when you're recovering Wednesday morning to play Sunday. That's terrible too. Where you already see it sometimes. The Monday games, but there's no shortage of NFL days they're stealing. They own Sunday and Monday. They're getting there to completely owning Thursday. I think it's more realistic that you see a couple of random Wednesday night games with teams be going into bye. So hey, we're playing Wednesday this week, and we're on the bye next week.
Yeah,
I think that's more realistic than it is we're getting rid of Thursday entirely, especially because Amazon dropped a cool couple bill. I think it was 2.1 billion, 2.3 billion. Yeah, more money than we make on this podcast, I would think.
A tad bit.
We're going to start streaming the NFL on the Broad and Forever YouTube page. Get that Bezos money.
Get that Uncle Jeff money. What up?
Do you have any Eagles Saints takes? Do you think Jalen's playing?
I think Jalen's going to play.
You think he's going to play? I don't know. I see, not to not have a take, but I don't know what's gamesmanship. I don't know what's – if Jalen wants to play, Jalen's a gamer. If he's feeling okay, he's not an idiot. Let him play. I hate the idea like, oh, they should have rested guys last week. I've seen takes like that, or it's not important. They just need to win one of these games. Yes, they need to win one. Like, we can't just keep kicking the can down the road, and it's next week, and the Giants are maybe playing for something, and Hurts is going back in after not playing for 2.5 weeks, and we're expecting everything to be fine. Winning one of these next two games is the equivalent of winning a playoff game. It really is. This game on Sunday, obviously not a playoff game, but if you win – you are skipping a playoff game. That is the equivalent of winning a game. right?
That's the equivalent of winning the game. I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people, so many
It's
people,
not over. It's not clinched. Nothing's fucking clinched.
So many people before
it
the
could be
Cowboys
January
game.
8th and the Eagles are the 5th seed, and we're thinking they pissed this season away because of Jalen got hurt and Lane got hurt.
And like before the Cowboys game, a bunch of people, oh, you know what? I would rest everybody. You just got to win one. Well, you still got to fucking win. You still
We're
win.
Gonna tell them that, like, hey guys, we're gonna, you're telling a bunch of millionaire star athletes in their primes going 13-2 and said, hey, we're gonna punt this game on national TV against all these guys who are trying to punk your quarterback in the media. We're gonna take it easy that game, and then we're gonna try really hard the next week, and then
have you ever
maybe, and if we lose, like people aren't fucking robots. Players aren't robots. And I think that was something that's lost with like the analytical movement, and I was very into that for a long time. It's like, not that my job makes me the gatekeeper to what players understand, but just interacting with them in the slightest instance, they're just as normal people like we are. They're stronger, they're faster, they make a lot more money, and they're a lot more famous, but they're still human beings, and you can't just turn that switch off competitively for a team like this in the middle of an NFL season. This isn't resting a guy for 3 games in April during the NBA season. It's not like that at all. It's an entirely different beast.
I don't understand the premise behind you just have to win one. You should want to win all of them. Like this is
like they want to win those. Even if a game is theoretically meaningless, the team still would like to win those games. It's not as
win those games.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as let's coast. Let's fucking win the game. Win the games in front of you because there is a such thing as going in to the playoffs with good momentum. Like you're going to be off for a long time. Like
Jalen could be off for over a month, and what if it takes him not a game to get rusty, but if it takes him a quarter and a half, that's a quarter and a half you're playing down. Right. Again, I'm not throwing Jalen out there just to throw him out there.
No.
If they clinch on Sunday with Minshew, I'm cool. Hey, just let him rest up. I wouldn't play him against the Giants at all. Not a dry. Just keep him inactive. But to think that these players, they're robots or their existence is in a vacuum when it comes to this shit.
Right.
It's just one, stupid and almost like in a weird way disrespectful.
Yeah.
Or ignorant to the way professional athletes interact, or it sounds like too much of a crazy take to say like dehumanizing them, but in a way it's just like you're pretending they're not real people who have way more, as much as fans, and I've been there a million times, like want to die over a game and all that crazy shit. Like it's also their jobs too.
They're way more at stake. And
we'll be here talking about the Eagles long after everyone in this organization is gone, save Julian, Lori, and Howie probably. But it's still different.
And it just feels like to me that we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Like there's still a lot to win. There's a lot to accomplish. Like I think that we all presume, or a Super Bowl berth is forthcoming, and we hope so. But like,
sure,
the 49ers aren't going to lay down for you. The Cowboys aren't going to lay down for you. Like these are games you have to win. You have to, you have to conceivably Sunday lock up the number 1 seed in the bye, and then in 3 weeks you have to beat maybe your most hated rival, maybe another team, and then move on from that, and most likely have to play a really good, really, really, really good 49ers team that is the opposite of you. It's actually getting healthy at the right time. Like it's not going to be an easy road.
And then you're going to have to play one of the 3 most talented quarterbacks in the league in the Super Bowl. Like Philadelphia didn't win anything. The Eagles haven't won anything. And I don't want to make it a championship experience thing, because I think that matters way less in the NFL than it does in the NBA because of tactical purposes. And as we saw clearly in 2017, had Jason Kelsey ever won a playoff game? Had Brandon Graham ever won a playoff game? Had Lane Johnson? No. But Foles had played a playoff game before and lost. I think it matters for quarterbacks, and Jalen got destroyed against Tampa Bay, but that's a notch under his rope. That's that was the thing with Carson for a while was, hey, I don't think they could win this year if it's 2019 or 2020, but he needs to win a playoff game. He needs to get that over with so that 2-3 years down the line they can start making moves for other things.
So we talked about this with Tyler. Shout out to Ty. He's the GOAT. Shout Shout out to the GOATs in the process of officially moving. But we talked about this. We had our R&B conversation when we were all together. Like he needs to win. Like you got to get past the second round.
Yeah,
because like you've got to win, dog. And we are the relationship we have with our stars right now, specifically him and guys like Bryce and Jalen, and is like we just want to see you win. Like you just have to win. Like I don't know how else to explain it, and the best way to say it is just show it, to prove, literally show and prove. Like we have, I feel like we all have been pretty level headed and reasonable in terms of expectations for all three teams, and their stars. But now is the time that you do want to see guys show and prove. Like it literally is time to shit or go out the pot for many reasons for across the board.
I think they win with or without Hurts.
Yeah,
and I said that a little bit for the Dallas game, but I feel obviously that's a really different animals playing Dallas on the road than New Orleans at home. I think we can all agree to that as much.
And Dallas still has something to play for. Like Dallas,
yeah, I mean New Orleans, I guess technically can still win the NFC South. I think, but that's it's still they're 5-9, 6-9.
Yeah.
I mean that's just not a good team. That's worse than the inverse of the Cowboys record. Dennis Allen's a buffoon, I think.
Totally.
Sirianni clocked them last year with Dennis Allen's defense. A lot of that was Jalen, obviously, but the things are in place. The passing offense is in place. Yeah. And at worst, Miles should still be able to have a nice game on the ground. He played well against them last year. He's played well against them in his career. They've played the first Hurts start was 2020 against the Saints. I think Hurts rushes for 102 yards. Miles rushes for, I think, 126. That was like a 75, 85-yard touchdown in there too. Then last year, Hurts has 3 rushing touchdowns, first time in his career. He has that insane juke back touchdown move, and expect that to continue on Sunday. Yeah. So maybe it's a moot point at a certain instance, but let's not just fuck around. Like the fan base should want the team to win. There needs to be no overcomplicating things at a certain point.
Like I'll tell you, from my experience, right, about momentum. You look at the last year's NBA Finals, and you talked about experience, right? The Warriors was getting their asses kicked. All it took was one win and one turn of momentum, and they knew exactly what to do with it.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of stuff that you want your guys on this team to do. Like the guys who were there 4 years ago, like, yo, like you guys know exactly what it takes. You guys know there's no such thing as flipping the switch. You know how quickly momentum shifts. Like you should be talking to other guys saying, yo, we need to go out here and we got to kick the Saints' ass. And then next week we got to kick the Giants' ass. We rest up and then we come out and we go and try to win a Super Bowl. Like there's no such thing as flipping the switch. I do not want to. I don't want to say. You know me. I don't want to sound like ancient or anything. I just don't think there's such a thing as flip the switch in sport.
No. There's only one era of a team that I believe a switch flipping existed. It was for the Heatles.
1,000%.
That's the in my lifetime since 2000, watching the 4 major sports pretty regularly. The only team I saw an ability to flip a switch was the Heatles, the 2010 to 2014 Heat. And you had, the top 3 player at worst all time at the peak of his powers. You had a top 30 guy all time at the peak of his powers, and then one of the greatest glue guys in history, in my opinion, and then an elite head coach. And every role player that was a former All-Star. Like that's the only team that can really flip a fucking switch. The Eagles, and they have some guys who've won that are still playing prominent roles in their team with Kelsey, with Graham, with Fletch, those guys, but football's not a flip switching sport.
It's not. No. It's not a flip switch sport.
Because if once you switch that flip off, you're getting knocked the fuck out. And you're not going to get back up.
Right. Or you're getting, T.Y. Hilton is catching a 35-yard pass on you.
Would have Gannon flipped the switch? It looked like he did on that one. And again, that wasn't all him. I think Slay looked a little. I get it was kind of a Tampa 2 setup, and it doesn't seem necessarily what Gannon runs all the time. And it was a misplay by Slay. probably a little bit of a worse play by Scott too, Josiah Scott, who's getting thrown into a situation he should not be in, and that's part of the injury situation. And you're wondering, are these injuries just hitting at the worst possible time? Because I guess Avante's done. Did Avante hurt himself celebrating?
Yo, did I?
I don't know. I don't want to say if that's what happened because I don't know. I saw people hinting at that.
Yeah.
And the fact that it hasn't been said that by more plugged-in media reporters than myself or the team itself makes me think that actually is the case.
Yeah.
They want to slide that right on the road.
It's absolutely the case. I think he absolutely hurt himself celebrating.
I mean, it was a great play, but
it's a great play.
You'd rather him have not made that play and him been healthy and been able to play the rest of the year, which again doesn't necessarily look like the case right now. Not just the regular season. I think he might be out.
I think he's out.
I think he's just out.
Yeah, I think he's out for however long the bird season lasts. I think
that coupled with CJ being out, I think CJ's was unbelievable as a safety this year. Insane that he wasn't on the Pro Bowl ballot.
Yeah, he should be on a
Pro Bowl. But I'd rather play him in the slot with Blankenship at safety, I think, than keep CJ at safety and play Josiah Scott in the slot. I think I get it's similar to thinking like, oh, if my lot is out, you have to move in the right tackle and put Dillard there, which I don't like that. But man, he's a 2018 Bellinelli defensive. Yeah. They're going to start switching guys where they put CeeDee Lamb in the slot because they knew that's the guys matching up with them. Any opposing team, if that guy's out there, their best receiver, even if he's not necessarily a quote-unquote slot receiver, is getting put in the slot so we can get matched up with him.
Where do you think Debo is going to go? Where do you think they're going to put Justin Jefferson?
The Seattle situation is a little scary, I would think, with their weapons. Ayuk is good.
Ayuk is really, really good, man.
And typically, you would want probably in a perfectly healthy scenario, you would be comfortable with having Maddox on Debo because even though he's undersized, he can hit a little bit. He has that safety in him. Maddox, I wouldn't necessarily be turned off by how much of a physical player Debo is.
Me neither.
And then you have Ayuk on either whatever side they are with Bradbury and Slay. And I actually kind of like CJ against Kittle a little bit, as much as anyone could like anyone against George Kittle in the league, right? But now
CJ definitely had the speed. I think there's a bit of a
there's definitely a size thing, but
but like I also think that I think that this is where you throw the whole kitchen sink out, right? Conceivably, you throw everything you had out there, and like maybe even you have, maybe it's a joint approach to stopping Debo. Maybe you put because they line up Debo in the backfield too. So maybe you put N'Kobe
little TJ Edwards energy out
right, there, little TJ and N'Kobe to spy him. Like I think there's a couple of different ways to get really, really intricate with it and make them double think what they're thinking. Like show them something you haven't seen before.
Yeah,
like, show them something that like that's not coming up on tape. Make them adjust on the fly, or if you just do head on head and see what happens, then you got to prepare to maybe lose one or two of those, and then see how the rest of your defense reacts to it.
Got two things we could finish up with after the Eagles Saints talk we have right here. One, been some talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame ballots and going out, and one Phillies player is on it amongst others. That seems to be someone Philly fans are saying should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And growing up when I did, was a very divisive player. And while if you look back and just are watching things through Baseball Reference, which I've done with players before my time, I get it. But Bobby Abreu being in the Hall of Fame, it's fucking you like, and I don't want to be because then it's like, well, you're old now because you're the guy saying you didn't see them the way I would say that about John Olerud or Larry Walker or something like that. Like, man, you did not watch him play, and I get his rate stats really are amazing, but in an era where all of the rate stats were pretty good to begin with, he's doing these on some shitty teams. Oh well, if he was on the Yankees, he's doing it. Well, if he was on the Yankees, he's probably winning rings. There's that too. So and I saw Spike Eskin had this debate about it, and I had seen, and I love that he said it because I guess it's a similar crowd to the
Yes,
Sixers
it's
Twitter
back then.
generation
Yes.
was saying like, oh, he has to be in the Hall of Fame. And I've been to, growing up in South Philly in the shadows of Veterans Stadium, as one of our friends once said, being so close to the stadium growing up, and in both stadiums, walking distance, had been to a zillion Phillies games. Not once in my life did my dad ever take me to a game, or did I go to with one of my friends, walk there, got our dads to drop us off, parents to drop us off, whatever, with the idea of saying, we need to pay money to watch Bobby Abreu play.
Bobby Abreu, yeah.
No one has ever done that. And that doesn't mean he can't still be a great player, but Hall of Fame.
No.
And listen, I'm someone who likes the idea of a bigger Hall of Fame. I don't think it needs to be like this inner circle, the holiest of players. But, I saw Meach arguing it. He had 2 All-Star appearances. That's nice. That would be the fewest of any player ever in the Hall of Fame.
Crazy.
Never had a top 10 MVP finish. Was never on a playoff team in Philly. And I think this is some background information I've heard over the years. The Phillies traded Bobby Abreu at the 2005 trade deadline as they were trying to reshuffle some things with Ron's getting into like the second half of his prime, Utley coming up, and now Ryan Howard's on the scene on his way to winning Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
They said, we need a refresh in this clubhouse. And I don't know what happened, but they traded one guy who had been there a long time, who the fan base did not like, who had played for a lot of losing-ass baseball teams, some teams that could probably crush fandom in the city, equivalent to like the 2009 Sixers did to people. And you're watching that guy go, and then within 18 months, this team is gunning for the playoffs.
Yeah.
So exciting, all these up-and-coming stars. And I think, and baseball's a different sport where a guy can't win anything and can still be a Hall of Famer. Right? Ken Griffey Jr. won, I think, 1 playoff round in his life.
Right.
Mike Trout has played in like 3 fucking playoff games. Obviously, going to be in the Hall of Fame, deserves to be in there. But Bobby Abreu, man.
I did.
No one ever was like in the Hall of Fame. Like, it doesn't have to be like all of these things, but one specific thing would be like, if you're going to a game, like, are you really excited to like pay money to see this guy? And maybe Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, and Ryan Howard aren't Hall of Famers. Maybe Chase, maybe Jimmy. Probably not for Ryan because the way his career played out with injuries. Right. But man, I was paying to see them. Cole Hamels isn't a Hall of Famer at all. I was paying money to go see that guy.
Paying money to see them, right? Like
Jason Worth. Again, I'd paid money to watch. Like in 2009, 2010, he was one of the best outfielders in baseball. Actually, probably had top 10 MVP finishes.
Yeah,
not a Hall of Famer at all. And that guy, I don't want to call people losers all the time because I overuse it, but the guy was a pretty good player on a bunch of shitty baseball teams that never made any noise. Were really the most irrelevant team in the sport. It felt like
pretty much
for a large period of him being the best player on those teams. We're trying too hard, guys. We're trying too hard.
I think that there was a conversation about the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I don't want to misquote how it was said, but like it was pretty much like, well, if you let everybody in, then what's so special about the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Like, that's the reason it's the Hall of Fame, because only the best of the quote unquote best of the best is supposed to be in there. And like
Jason Worth has more top 10 MVP finishes than Bobby Abreu, and he should not. He shouldn't. I have a mythical thing I joke with one of my buddies from school that I am the curator of the Hall of Very Good. There should be a section for a lot of people who are like really, really good for a long time. Like John Olerud there's a statue of him outside the Hall of Very Good.
Yeah.
McNabb's got a little award in there for the Hall of Very Good.
Right.
Bobby Abreu, he can get a plaque up in there if he wants. Honestly, if he wants one, he could be there next to Jason Worth and Cole Hamels.
There you go.
The Hall of Fame, not my Hall of Fame.
Good night.
Good night and good luck. We'll finish up with this. This is the last thing I wanted to say. What are your college picks? We have the 2 college football playoff games on Saturday. Early game, we have TCU, Michigan. Michigan is 7.5-point favorites. And then at night, we have most marquee game in the quarterfinal round, or the semifinal round, I guess you could say, since this time for me during the playoff. We have Ohio State, Georgia. Georgia's 6.5-point favorites. They've been averaging, that defense has been giving up, 11 points per game this season?
12.8.
12.8. So I guess you're taking your dogs And you're riding with Michigan.
I like my dogs, and I like the points. I think that this is going to be probably this will be the best passing offense they played all year. I mean, you know who Ohio State has, and you know who's catching, you know who's throwing. I think that the only matchup you want to watch is Kelly Ringo from Georgia, who is probably going to be the first corner off the board next year. I think he's only a sophomore. Um, and against our guy, marvelous Marvin Harrison Jr., who will be a top 3 pick after next year. That's the matchup. I think that whoever wins that matchup is probably going to win the game.
I agree.
That'll pretty much that right there will pretty much tell us exactly, Jalen Carter aside, he's gonna have a day. But Ohio State, man, Ohio State's got a couple of guys on that offensive line who've been hearing about Jalen Carter all week. They got, so I'm sure they're out to prove something. I think it'll be close. They definitely won't be scared, but I'm not quite sure that they have what it takes to punch the dogs in the mouth. So I'll take the dogs plus the 6.5. I really like that. And the Michigan game, man. No disrespect to TCU. Shout out to our guy, shout out to our guy Motley. But I'm
I enjoyed underdog thing in sports, and he's like just him with those takes, obviously. I'd like to see TCU win this game against Michigan, just the fun of it. I grew up, me and my dad liked Notre Dame growing up. He still does. I don't really root for them or watch them anymore.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, oh, this is fucking weird. It was like there's really no point for me to be rooting for them. I didn't go there for school, and they proudly have the acceptance letter hanging up in the basement, but I'm like, I'm not going there. I gotta the whole point of me being all excited that the team was like, oh, I'm gonna go there one day, and then got in but didn't go there, and I was like, well, I don't give a shit anymore. So then I like all the Gonzaga bullshit, Jesuit teams sometimes, but it'd be nice if TCU won, I think. Because I also didn't necessarily like Michigan growing up because of the aforementioned Notre Dame stuff. But man, Georgia TCU is unwatchable, right?
Georgia TCU,
that's not a game, man. That's
dude.
TCU. I think TCU, based on what they did, deserved to be in this Final Four in this specific year.
Right, they deserve.
Could they give Georgia a game? Could they give them a better game than Kentucky or Tennessee in reality? Probably not.
Probably.
I think that. What's the line on that game? 15.5.
Yeah, no bullshit. Yeah, like the offense that they run is kind of gimmicky. They have a
the quarterback thing is unreal with Reagor,
dude.
So for this, Max Duggan, right? That's his name.
That's his name. Yeah.
So TCU quarterback this year, Max Duggan, had a great year, Heisman finalist.
Yep. All deserved, by the way.
I don't think he's going to be pro star or anything, but maybe he's just can bounce around the league for a while.
He'll be Taysom Hill again for somebody. He'll be another Taysom Hill for somebody.
Hopefully not NFC.
Hopefully not NFC. Yeah.
But anyway, when Jalen Reagor was entering the 2020 NFL draft, there was a lot of talk about how his 2019 stats, his most recent college year before he went to the pros, were bad because his quarterback sucked. And you're like, well, if you watch the tape, you could see this guy can't make throws. This guy can't do this. This guy can't do that. And I'm thinking, obviously, I didn't watch a lot of TCU. And I'm like, all right, he looks fast. He looks fast. He's not fast. He looks fast. Looks fast in the Big 12.
He's Big 12 fast. Right.
He's Big 12 fast. I can believe that. Let's roll with it. Obviously, Jalen Reagor stinks. And then I'm like, in the years since, I'm like, that poor quarterback got thrown under the fucking rug because this guy stinks. And this guy, a couple of years later, almost wins the Heisman. Guy's playing in the college football playoff, leading the Horned Frogs out there. I think we pegged the wrong guy as the problem all those years ago.
I think we should be actually looking at the guy who literally stops running his routes. It's probably the one who's been fucking up all the time, dude.
It's funny that they're playing the Saints on Sunday because one of the most vivid, in the worst way, Eagles moments I can imagine is that 2020 Saints game. They're wearing all black. Hurts' first start. They do upset the Saints and win.
Yeah.
I think only Taysom was starting at that point. Drew Brees was hurt, but They throw Hurts. Obviously, he's even a great passer at this point. Rager's crossing across the middle, going towards the last sideline. Hurts hits on a pretty nice pass. You get it. If you hit pause on YouTube or pause your TV, it's just Rager in a black jersey and grass.
And
that guy is running. He looks like Josh Sweat running off that Dak interception. This guy is the slowest fucking. And it was one of those moments where I remember where I was in Loller's basement. Our current fiancés were now there with us, and when watching this game, like, this guy fucking sucks. This is it. Like, that was the play. That's how you knew. And then also he was this. I don't want to just keep wrecking this guy, but it's like the little things that just set me off of this. And then he's this. Oh, he can break tackles on the runs. So he's running in slow mo for 6 seconds. A guy comes, sniffs him, and he runs out of bounds too.
And he's out of bounds
on a 3-win team or whatever.
Dude, you know, like, come on, like, yeah, it was that. It's just that kind of stuff, and like, I am an agent of chaos when it comes to this stuff, because I do think that it will be very cool. I do think that there's always a chance, right? So I think that TCU is definitely not going to be scared. Like, Max Duggan is they'll play, but it's almost like, Rex Ryan once said, like we're going to give you our best game and beat the fuck out of you. Like, we don't care if you're going to give us our best game, right? Like, we don't care how much you coached up. We don't care how, that you're going to give us your best game. We're better than you every single day if we're doing best versus best. I just think it's one of these cases. I think that Michigan they're determined to prove something. I mean, they got embarrassed last year, and they should be out to prove something. A lot of those guys are still on that team. It's gonna be fun though. I would be surprised if TCU won, but I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Michigan a game. They're gamers. They're gonna come out and throw it all at them. I just don't know if they have enough to keep up with the dogs that Michigan has.
I love our analysis. I think of this story Kirk Herbstreit told on a podcast like last year. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been part of my take. And he's saying it's one of his first games he's doing on game day. It's a Michigan LSU game. They're at, I don't know which one. I'd say they're at Michigan. And, all the fans are going nuts. They're all revved up. Kirk gives this, 90-second, really analytical, well thought out exercise argument and picks Michigan. And then they go to Corso, and he's like, Michigan versus LSU's, it's Mercedes versus pickup trucks. Yeah. Give me the Tigers. And the whole crowd explodes and is screaming at him. He's like, he just said one thing, and it was like 1,000 times more entertaining than any concrete, true analysis could give.
He's this
is obviously probably closer to 25 years ago.
Honestly, for a long time, he's been at that age where the analysis not even analysis. Like, it's cool that he is college game day. So like him,
he's 80. Dude, I thought he was like 87 when I was a kid.
Me too.
Like in 2004. Watching a USC Notre Dame game or whatever, I thought this guy was in his 80s.
Dude, when the year of the Bush push, I thought he was in his 70s. So, like, who fucking knows how old he actually is?
He's 87, man. I mean, he looks 87. No shade. He can go in the College Football Hall of Fame if he's not in there already. I'll let him get in there. He's not. He's too good for the Hall of Very Good. I'm not letting him get in there.
The guy survived everything. I think he literally has been.
Is he leaving after this year?
I think so. I think they're trying to.
They didn't announce. Who do you replace him with? There's no one. He is College Game Day the way that Barkley is inside the NBA. Like, maybe one day Barkley won't be on there, but it won't be the same. And as much as people might hate Barkley, a lot of people hate Corso. I love them both. I don't listen to either of them to know more about the given sport. I listen to them to be freaking entertained. They're entertainers.
Yo, I watch NBA on TNT. One, for the entertainment, and two.
Wow, dude, this is. I don't mean to cut you off. So I type in. I'm on Lee Corso's Wikipedia page.
Oh yeah,
and we're obviously talking about this. And I type in "who will" in the subject line on Google Chrome. First thing that suggested that comes up: who will replace Lee Corso?
Lee Corso.
Friggin' tech motherfuckers.
They're tricky, dude.
They're tricky, man. That's what this this morning, randomly, I texted Loler. I'm sure you've seen Tommy Boy, right?
Yeah.
It's classic for our generation, our era.
It is.
And you know, Chris Farley is rambling, and then David Spade goes, "Are you talking?" It's just like an unreal burn. And then I open up Instagram 30 seconds later, and there's a suggested reel of David Spade telling a fat boy in little coat story about Chris Farley. And I'm like, this shit's nuts.
Well, a lot of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors.
Or Shamus Clancy. So these are the suggested people on Bleacher Report to replace Lee Corso. Jesse Palmer.
No.
He's good at what he does, but no. Bruce Feldman, good at what he does, no.
No.
Coward. I like Coward, but no. Not for that. Joe Klatt. I know of his name, but I don't know him. That's a no. Craig James. The most yes out of all of these so far, but still no. Aaron Andrews, good at our job, but no. Brent Musburger.
No. He's just as old. Isn't he just as old?
When the hell is this list from? Dude, you're gonna die laughing. Do you know when this article is from? Asking if people February 2010. I'm like, Brent Musburger hasn't he been just living up in Vegas for a half dozen years?
Yo, it's funny.
Fucking 13 years ago. Lou Holtz? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That guy, I was never. Oh, geez. I have to tell you, number one. It's a shame. Mike Leach.
Fuck yeah.
That would have been a good one, but
it would have been a really good one.
Definitely clearly an out of date list, though.
I think they're grooming McAfee for it. I think
that's the next article that came up. This one was actually from September.
I think he's getting groomed for it. I don't know. I know sometimes you have Philly voice stuff, but if you watch it, he's jumping into the lakes and shit.
He's gonna be the fun guy. They're gonna mold.
I think they're absolutely grooming him for it. I think that he seems to get along well with everybody.
College kids love him.
Dude, college kids fucking love him because he's got that whole
Barstool vibe.
Yeah, he's like I'm not Barstool, but I'm Barstool adjacent. So they love him for that. So I think that he shout out to our guy Roan. They should give Roan a shot. Hey, why not?
It's Desmond Howard, Roan, David Pollock, and Pat McAfee. And Pat Bev.
The FCC fines from that show wouldn't be enough to get them through the whole season. They would have to eventually just make it Desmond Howard and somebody else. Anything
else? Anything to say to Bobby Abreu lovers out there?
Yes.
That's the ultimate. I turned into an old man. You didn't watch the game, and there are a bunch of teams and players. I'm sure I've commented over my 10 years doing this in some capacity that I didn't really watch intently. But no, it's. I think that's a good ending place. I also think that one thing I would tell everybody. One thing to root for on Sunday is a win. That's become offensive. Yeah, it's offensive. Right? Sorry that offends. Sorry if this offends, but the only thing you should root for on Sunday is a win. There's still a ton of football left to be played and a ton of good football. The last thing you want is to be I hate that they lost that Saints game, or I hate that they got shellacked by the Giants. Just root for a win. You're going to be pissing your pants when they are the 5th seed playing in Tampa Bay. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's 5-point favorites on January 13th. It's still Brady. It's still you don't want to go through on the road because it's not going to happen. It's the last thing you want to do. So Steelers Ravens is Sunday Night Football this week. That's just going to be and I respect the NFC North matchups. Because I really believe those fan bases hate each other and kill each other the way the NFC East do. So I'm okay those teams being prime time. The fans give a shit and everything. Yeah. Monday is the Bills Bengals. I thought that was Sunday night. So that's an incredible. That's going to be amazing. That's perfect. Incredible. That's perfect for us. And we're off. Most people are off Monday too, so that's great. That's perfect. Got a couple bowl games, a couple New Year's 6 games, then run into that. Be nice. All right. That's it for me, bro. Anything?
Yeah. I'm good, man.
If you like the podcast, tell someone else to listen to it. Send it to one person that hasn't listened to the podcast. Say
that's your homework.
If you listen to these two fucking nitwits and give them some listens.
If you enjoy us, if you like us, send this to one person and say, "Yo,
go buy a 15-pack of Kenny. Go buy a 6-pack. Maybe you still have some Kenny Pounders in your fridge. Shout out to Kenny. Got some in mine.
Yep.
I'm off today. Going to a wedding later. Maybe I crack open a Kenny before
there
I go.
It is.
Maybe we do. Maybe we do.
There it is. Yep.
All right. Talk in the new year, bro.
All right, bro. Be good. Have fun.